Hey guys, I am going to do a quick video on, I'm sure you guys have all heard about Rob Reiner and his wife. So, those of you that aren't familiar of who he is, Rob Reiner is a well-known actor and filmmaker who's been a part of Hollywood for decades. A lot of people first remember him as Meathead from the TV show On the Family. It's crazy because I didn't even realize that was the same person until this story came out. I'm like, oh my God, I've heard about, Rob Reiner, the director, whatever his title is. He was Meathead. Like, I didn't even realize it was the same person. But yes, from the show On the Family. But he became even more famous behind the camera. He directed the movies, to name a few of his movies, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, Stand By Me, Misery, and A Few Good Men. His work ranges from comedy to serious drama, and many of his films are still widely loved today. Okay, so that's Rob. So Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle Singer were found stabbed to death in their home December 14th, 2025. They live in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles. So authorities are treating it like a double homicide. Both victims suffered fatal stab wounds. Okay. I heard about this last night. I don't know when this will be edited, but last night would have been the 14th. I heard about it. Okay. Late last night. Now I wake up to hearing that his son, Nick Reiner, is in custody. $4 million bond. So he's the suspect, okay? 32 years old. So Nick, their son, he has a long history of struggling with substance abuse, including cycles of addiction and periods of homelessness, which he has spoken about publicly in the past. Over the years, Rob and Michelle tried to help him through rehabilitation and family support, including collaborating on a semi-autobiographical film, Being Charlie, in 2015, which dealt with addiction and familial tension. So after I'm done giving this summary, I'm going to play two interviews with Nick and his dad, and that's what they're talking about is this film they did together. But that'll be at the end, so stick around. Okay, so there was an argument at a Conan O'Brien holiday Christmas party, okay? This was the night before, so this would have been December 13th. Rob and Michelle were found dead. They went to Conan's holiday party, right? At this event, Rob and his son Nick got into a very loud argument that was reportedly heard by other guests. Sources described Nick as acting erratically and disturbing other people at the party, causing concern among those present. Rob and Michelle left the party after the confrontation, and it's unclear whether Nick stayed or left separately. The following afternoon, Rob and Michelle were found dead in their Los Angeles home by their daughter. Emergency responders reported fatal stab wounds consistent with a knife attack. Family background and possible tensions. Nick Reiner has a long history of struggling with substance abuse, including cycles of addiction and periods of homelessness, which he has spoken about publicly in the past. Over the years, Rob and Michelle tried to help him through rehabilitation and family support. Some reports suggest the argument at the party may have been related to ongoing tension around Nick's behavior and substance issues. Police have not publicly confirmed the exact motive or a detailed sequence of events linking the party. Much of the reporting about the party fight and Nick's behavior comes from sources close to the situation or media outlets, not official police statements. Okay, guys, I'll keep you updated. I'm going to play a couple interviews with Rob and his son Nick, and let me know what you guys think in the comments and if you want me to continue with this story. Bye. Okay, so I want to play a few videos. That's Billy Crystal and his wife, I guess, walking up to see what was going on. I guess they live really close to him, and he was friends with Rob. I'm going to play a couple clips. I'm going to play a recording of Nick, Rob's son, talking about this time he destroys his parents' house.
I got totally spun out on uppers. I think it was coke and something else, and I was up for days on end, and I started punching out different things in my guest house.
Like a frame? Like what? Like a stuff?
No, I think I started with the TV, and then I went over to the lamp, and then everything in the guest house got wrecked.
Did you punch the TV?
Yeah, I literally punched the TV.
Did you like lacerate your hands? I mean, that sounds bad.
Yeah, did you hurt yourself?
I don't even remember at this point.
I want to read this article real quick that I just saw. It's New York Times. It's titled Inside Rob, Nick Reiner's Fight at Conan O'Brien's Christmas Party That Left Parents Terrified Before Murders. Okay, let's see here. Rob Reiner's drug-addicted son, Nick, hacked his beloved director dad and mom, Michelle, to death after a massive blow-up at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party Saturday, where the Nepo baby freaked out everyone and left Reiner terrified of what he would do next, Powell said. The trio reportedly ended up in a very loud argument, possibly because Nick was back on drugs and refusing yet another go at treatment after at least 17 stints in rehab since age 15. Sources told the Post on Monday. Nick was freaking everyone out, acting crazy, kept asking people if they were famous, a source told People magazine. Says Nick was reportedly acting erratically at O'Brien's Christmas party on Saturday before the murders. The embarrassingly bitter blowout occurred fewer than 24 hours before ne'er-do-well Nick allegedly fatally slit his parents' throats and stabbed them multiple times in the family's Los Angeles mansion. They had an argument at Conan's holiday party, and Rob had been telling people that they're scared for Nick and scared that his mental state was deteriorating. A lifelong friend who lives near the Reiner home told the Post. Nick was supposedly off drugs, but then talk surfaced that he was not so much off of them, the neighbor said, explaining that at the accused killer's son's lowest point over the years, he was badly addicted to a combo of opiates and heroin. Another friend of the family said, I know the parents wanted to get him help, go to rehab, but he wanted to get help while at home. He did not want to get treatment at a facility. So this is an old picture of him, though. He looks a lot older and different now. And I know they have argued about that for years. Rob, 78, a beloved Hollywood legend, famed for everything from his acting role as Michael Meathead Stivic in the TV classic All in the Family to directing big screen classics such as Stand By Me and The Princess Bride, quickly left the O'Brien get-together with his photographer wife, Michelle, 68, after the fight, TMZ said. The shutdown occurred months after another big public argument between the dad and Nick. Nick began screaming at his father in front of the other diners at the posh Giorgio Baldi restaurant in Santa Monica Canyon. A worker there confirmed to the Post. Nick's sister Romy, a 28-year-old magazine writer and aspiring actress, reportedly found their parents' bodies around 3:40 p.m. Sunday. She told investigators at the time that her brother should be a suspect because he is dangerous, sources said, and Nick was nabbed hours later and charged with the murders. Wow. He was being held without bail, reportedly on S-Watch. Rob and Michelle also had another son, Jake, 34, who worked as a TV reporter in Houston and hosted a podcast on the LA Dodgers. The famous dad, previously married to former sitcom star Penny Marshall, also adopted his ex's daughter, Tracy Marshall Reiner. I came from the greatest family ever, Tracy, 61, told NBC News on Monday. I don't know what to say. I'm in shock. So there's Nick, Jake, Romy, Michelle, and Rob, the two that got murdered. Oh, wow. And unsmiling Nick last publicly appeared with his parents and siblings, Jake and Romy, when they all walked the red carpet September 9th at the Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues, premiere at the Egyptian Theater in Los Angeles. The wayward son had been battling drug addiction for more than half his life, ended up broke and homeless, sleeping on the streets at times, he said in interviews. At one point in 2015, he founded an environmental nonprofit called Save Malibu, but it didn't last a year. These poor people did everything to help this kid, said the family friend who told the Post that Nick was balking about going back to a treatment facility. Those futile efforts included Rob pulling out all the stops to help Nick produce the 2015 movie Being Charlie, including by using his own years of expertise to direct it and calling on Hollywood connections to pack the credits. But his spoiled son was ungrateful, a cast member said. The pair had at least one vicious argument in front of the cast and crew during filming with them, just going off on each other. Stunt performer Eric Oddie told Page Six, "You could tell Nick was spoiled and Rob was just sick of his shit. I just assumed whether this is correct or not, this kid must be pushing all his buttons," Oddie said. "Rob can't do anything right. Nick's a Nepo baby, a spoiled kid to the T. Any goodwill sown between the awkward father-son duo during the project could not overcome Nick's long-standing simmering resentment toward his father. the son of equally famous late comic genius Carl Reiner. What's the house? I think Nick really resented his dad, or maybe hated himself, for not being as talented, prolific, or beloved as his dad or granddad, a source told Page 6. 2 months before Rob's death, the director was asked by interviewer Piers Morgan which of his films he wanted to be most remembered for. People have their favorites. They, in the cliche, we love all of our children, even the bad ones, Rob said. Nick's resentment of his father apparently boiled over into something darker even before it took a deadly turn over the weekend. Here's a more current picture of Nick. Looks totally different, huh? So this is September 14th, 2024. So this is a year ago, is what he looked like a year ago. Huh. This is not the first time their son has been violent, the family friend said the day after the parents' slayings. I know of another incident a few years back with Nick, but I won't say more than that. I just never thought it would ever get to this point. It's such a nightmare. Nick admitted in 2018 that he once trashed his parents' home during a meth-fueled rage. Man. It's not much of a story. I got totally spun out on the uppers. I think it was coke and something else, and I was up 4 days on end. Nick told the Dopey podcast, I started punching out some things in my guest house. A former classmate of Nick's told the Post on Monday that she instantly knew he was the suspect in his parents' murders when she heard the news. A security guard hired by the community to patrol the family's ritzy Brentwood hood because of looting after the Palisades fire in January told the Post that Nick had been living with his parents for at least the past year. You could tell something was a little off with him. The worker Trevor Tafihima said of the son, he's a strange individual, And Romy's the one that found him. Can you imagine? Oh, my Lord. Oh, so this is 2025. September 9th, 2025. So that's what he looks like. His hair's all shaved off. Because that was only a couple months ago. The guard said Nick specifically had one friend he would invite to his parents' multi-million-dollar home. I would meet him right here, Tafahima said near the residence. I'm not sure who he was, but I'd always see Nick sneak off with him. I don't know what they were doing. The Reiner's murder stunned and shattered the country's gilded movie-making community. Kathy Bates, who starred in Reiner's 1990 film Misery, which won her an Oscar, told the Post, I'm horrified hearing this terrible news. Absolutely devastated. Fellow director Ron Howard tweeted of Rob, he proved to be a superlative filmmaker, a supportive colleague, and at all times, a dedicated citizen. This is a good article.
Tonight, police say the person responsible for the brutal murders of Hollywood icon Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle is their very own son.
They worked throughout the night on this case and were able to take into custody Nick Reiner, a suspect in this case.
The 32-year-old arrested at 9:15 last night, according to police, less than 6 hours after the disturbing discovery of the couple's bodies inside their Brentwood home.
Verifying we have 2 cardiac arrests.
A source close to the family telling NBC News both appear to suffer fatal stab wounds. Nick had been living with his parents on and off, according to 2 sources with knowledge of the situation, who say the 3 attended a party thrown by Conan O'Brien on Saturday night. Those sources tell us Nick was disruptive and made guests feel uncomfortable, adding that Rob and Michelle were embarrassed by his behavior and even expressed worries about his health.
All I ever wanted was a way to kill the noise.
In 2015, the father and son teamed up on the movie Being Charlie, a film based on Nick's own struggles with drugs.
It's not a secret, but my son, Nick, who was one of the writers of the screenplay, had his problems with substance abuse, and he went through a number of rehab programs.
The Reiners and their 3 children together recently, photographed on a red carpet in September. That's Nick in the middle. Reiner, the son of legendary comedian Carl Reiner, first gained fame as Archie Bunker's son-in-law on All in the Family.
Let me tell you something, Mr. Stivic. You are a meathead.
Then pivoting to film, writing and directing beloved movies, spanning genres.
No, don't touch it. I was just pointing at it. Well, don't point.
From The Princess Bride.
Life is pain, Highness. Anyone who says differently is selling something.
To redefining rom-coms with When Harry Met Sally.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Where Reiner gave his own mom a famous cameo.
I'll have what she's having.
He told stories about friendship and loss.
I'll see you. Not if I see you first.
And perfected the courtroom drama with A Few Good Men.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Today, Kevin Bacon remembering his time with Reiner on that set.
The making of that movie was one of the best experiences that I've ever had.
While Jane Fonda said she just saw the couple Saturday night, calling them wonderful, caring, smart, funny, generous people.
And Morgan Chesky joins us tonight live from that scene. Morgan, when could Nick Reiner be charged?
Yeah, Tom, we know that LAP detectives plan on presenting their evidence to prosecutors tomorrow with formal charges anticipated on Wednesday. As for the 32-year-old Reiner, he remains behind bars being held without bail tonight.
Okay, so now I'm going to play two interviews. They're older. They're talking about Nick and Rob's movie called Being Charlie. Was released in 2016. So yeah, these two interviews I'm going to play now are probably 9 years old, but I think it's interesting to just see him and his dad and how they interact now after what happened. See if there's any signs. I did see a little bit of stuff that maybe we'll talk over on a live stream sometime. Let me know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to hit that like button for me. Thank you. Here's just a quick clip that I guess outside the home, there's a bunch of reporters and there's some issues going on. So I thought this was kind of interesting.
Hi. How you doing? Not well. Yeah. Gentleman over here was threatening me.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot. He said, she said, she said, he said, a lot of.
I have everything on stream. I have thousands of viewers. I'll show you my footage. Okay. The guy tried to grope me. I have autism. I'm sitting here minding my own business. Guy kept grabbing me inappropriately, and I'm uncomfortable. I want to press charges. I want to press charges. Yes.
Let's go down there and watch it. Yeah, let's go watch it over.
I'm gonna leave my stream here.
That's fine. Please, we'll just go to the end. Just.
I'm leaving my stream here.
So we can see it, but it's a little bit quiet.
Gentleman over here is making threats towards me. My stuff was molested. I'm standing on what I believe in. For my in the chat. He touched my property, and he's invading my creative bubble.
Can you guys step back over there, please? Thank you.
I don't pay a lot of money to the directors.
We are the Purple Heart We are the Purple Heart I am on the block with fighters C-Dex.
Hey, can you turn it down, please? Can you turn it down, please? Someone just died. Have some decency, please. Okay. All right. Is your friend here? Look, we're just trying to keep the peace, keep the music down. We're getting complaints that people are harassing each other around here. There's possibly a pepper spray. We don't want it to get out of hand.
These guys are actually harassing me. They're threatening me.
Okay.
They're coming up to me like threatening me.
Okay, well, just turn down your music, okay? That's all we want.
After 7 years, a lot of us.
Someone just died, though. We just want to keep the peace. We want to give the
These guys
people...
are all like trying to profit off the man that died.
Okay. All right, just keep it down, okay?
Did they pay you?
No, we're getting
They're all
calls.
trying to profit from like this.
Okay.
They're all like
Look, we just got phone calls. Just keep it down, okay? That's all we want.
Legally,
right?
I have to keep it down, though.
Yeah, please. Go for the other party. Sir,
up
here. They're trying to get you.
Thank you.
Where's the other guy?
Hey, Mexican Randy! Hey, Mexican Randy with his big $50 dono. Let's get it. Go.
Hey everybody, Amna Navaz here in New York. I am joined today by the father and son duo, director and writer respectively, of the new film, Being Charlie. Gentlemen, thank you so much for making the time.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having us.
Of course. So, I've watched the film. It's difficult to watch in a lot of parts. There's a lot of heavy topics in there. And you've made no secret about the inspiration behind the film. You have battled substance abuse for years. What made you, I want to start with you, Nick, what made you decide to put this story in film form?
Well, it started out as a television show that we wrote. And I get asked this question a lot, like, why would you want to put your story out there? And it was never that difficult for me to share what I struggled about. And it was never like, oh, this will help someone else. It was just like, I have a lot of experiences that might be valuable to other people, but I just find them interesting and I would like the world to know about them. I never thought it would get this far though.
You didn't?
No, now I have to own up to it.
So how did it get this far? Explain to me how this became a collaboration.
Well, I mean, Nick, as he said, he met Matt Elisafan, who's the other screenwriter. They met in a rehab place, and they started making notes and observations of people that they saw there. And after they both got out, Nick contacted Matt and said, "Hey, maybe there's something in this. We should write something." And so they got together and they wrote this half hour, and they showed it to me, and I thought it was funny, but I thought it lacked a depth because I knew
it was funny.
Well, it was funny.
Yeah.
It was funny, but it was supposed to be a comedy, and I thought this subject really could go a lot deeper. They then wrote an hour comedy drama, and we tried to set it up. We couldn't set it up, and then I suggested, why don't we try to see if we can make a screenplay out of it? So the whole process took about a year, and Matt and Nick, they wrote this draft that was 190 pages, and they threw everything in that they had, and I helped them shape it, and it got to be what it is. And we took from our experiences, but it was also a combination of other people that Nick and Matt had come across in their times in rehab.
Did you always know that you wanted to be involved on this level?
No. I mean, I did think when Nick was going through his roughest period, I mean, it was like from 15 to 19, and during that period, there was a couple of books that came out that was by father and son, Nick Sheff, and I think it was David Sheff. They're both perspectives on what had happened, and Nick Sheff was, had a drug problem, and the father was a writer, and they wrote these two different books. One was called Beautiful Boy, the other was called Tweak. And I thought, hey, maybe there's something in there, because I know Nick is going through. I had no idea how difficult it was for him, but I knew what I was going through, and I thought maybe there's something in a story. But then I kind of put it aside because I thought this is too raw and it's too difficult. But I guess when we had a little distance on it, then we could kind of start looking at it, and it came to be what it is.
On that same point, that's an interesting point you raised. Were you ever hesitant to show your father some of those things you had written? Because there's, as much as you're pulling from other people's experiences, you're pulling from your own as well. Was there ever a moment when you thought, this is too much, I don't want him to know all this?
Well, he knew a lot about what I'd went through already, so I wasn't any concerned at all about what it was in there about me. But the father character initially was harsh on him, and I, believe it or not, was not wanting the character to be that villainous. And it was hard for him for a while to think that I thought of him that way, and to convince him that that's not how I felt, but that fathers do get in that mode sometimes when they're trying to help their kid who's in danger.
And it's interesting that he mentions that, because I did think that. I mean, the father originally was written as very black and white, bad guy, and I thought, oh God, that's what Nick thinks of me, and oh my God, I thought that was, but then he actually came about halfway through the process. He said, the father should be it should be a little bit more dimensional. I mean, he's like too much of one thing. And oddly enough, I took that as to be, oh, he's feeling better about me now. So he was able to say that. But the character evolved, and I do think that over the course of making the film, that our relationship definitely changed and got, it wasn't that was terrible or anything, but it got better because I then understood a lot more of what he had gone through, and I think he understood a little bit more what I had gone through, and then the script reflected that.
Well, how much that brings me to this question, which is just how much of this sort of helped you to connect on some of the things that maybe you don't in those more difficult times when you're actually going through the process. How much of it was sort of a reflection back on maybe the things you hadn't had a chance to say yet to each other?
I think that none of it was sort of designed to do that for us, for a therapy session or anything, but by just doing it, it helped, and in ways that we didn't necessarily think would help. And
we didn't set out to make it be some cathartic experience, but it turned out that it was, because it kind of forced us into, when you're making whether it's a piece of art or it's music or a film, you're investing yourself and the characters and portraying an extension of your thoughts and feelings.
Right.
And so we're doing that. And as it turns out, it became kind of cathartic. But I mean, we didn't set out to say, okay, let's push through our, difficulties, and this will be the vehicle by which we do that. It just so happened to have happen that way.
So these characters you've mentioned, we should catch everybody up out there. If that doesn't alone make you want to watch this film, here's the story. Charlie Mills, it's fair to say, as the central character, is sort of a privileged white kid from Hollywood who has a substance abuse problem, runs away from a rehab facility and faces full-on his parents who've taken a very tough love approach, rehab or the highway. Is that a fair sort of entry point for this?
That is the entry point, and just like when Nick was going through his his bad times, they told us you have to be tough. It has to be tough love, which is not my nature. I'm not a disciplinarian, and you got to do it this way. I'm just not like that.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm an actor, so I have to act. I'll act like a guy who is tough, and just like it says in the movie, anybody with a desk and a diploma, I listen to, because you don't know how to handle it. And so it is that. And I think there's one other thing, is that, you talk about it, privilege and Hollywood and all that stuff. And what we wanted to show is that it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if you have money, you don't have money, if you're, have advantages, don't. These problems can affect anybody. And we're seeing it now with the terrible, drug abuse that's going on around all over the country. It's like an epidemic, with heroin. So, and it's infiltrating.
If you keep doing drugs, you won't stay privileged for long. You end up, roughing it out.
Right.
Doing stuff.
Well, that brings me to another point. There's a lot of disturbing conversations.
Sure.
It's hard for me to hear that this started out like a comedy, because it's not a comedy. Now there are some lighter
but
moments.
There's some laughs in it.
There are. There's some good sarcasm. There's the whole aspect of Charlie Mills wanting to be a stand-up comedian as well. That actually, I wanted to ask you about that. How much of you is in that? Was there ever an aspiration to be a stand-up comedian?
Yes. I mean, I did some stand-up as a kid, and one particular show I ended up bombing and relapsing and going to a program the next day. But but that just symbolized the stand-up in the movie, just symbolized like something tangible that he could grab onto, that he could focus on, that was his passion, and not, drugs.
But a lot of the humor is very sarcastic. It's very cynical. Even the whole approach to rehab.
Yeah.
It seems to be the message is that rehab doesn't really work.
Well, it doesn't work for some people. We're not the experts to say who it works for and who it doesn't. I mean, AA works for a lot of people. It doesn't work for everybody.
And you have to think about what it means doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like, some people could pretend it works while you're there. Some people could kind of do good for a little bit afterwards for whatever reason. But more times than not, I've never heard someone say, I went once and I've heard that a few times, but it's usually they get out and they go back several times and they think it's their fault rather than the program thinking it's they design it to make it feel like you're the one that's the problem.
Right.
Yeah. Which, you may be, but there's also it's more to it than that.
Yeah.
In the collaborative process, since you were involved from the actual scripting process, you spent several months pulling this together. In any creative process, people will clash, people will disagree. What points did you two disagree on?
We had plenty of times. I mean, there were times we had fights and, we went at each other. And that, to me, was, at times was difficult. It was very emotional, but it was also the most satisfying creative experience I've ever had. Because, because first of all, is my son, who I love. And secondly, because better stuff would come out of it. He would challenge me. And, I have such respect for him because, as a young guy and with all the experience that I've had, he still was able to challenge me and push me and say, no, Dad, that's not what happened. That isn't the way it was. And he would, force me to see how things were. And I think that's an incredible testament to him. I told him many times when we were making the film that he's the heart and soul of the film. I've always said that to him. Yeah. And he was. I mean, he did push this to be what it is.
And I thought I knew everything at first when I went into this, and then I realized I don't know anything, and I should probably just listen to what he has to say. So we both kind of were like listening to each other.
Well, what's it like for you to hear your father, though, who's a titan in this industry, absolute living legend, say those things about you?
It's nice, but he's my father, so it's just like, you know, probably not as it's perceived from the outside, but I care about it, yeah, and I love him, so.
Do you guys think you could work together again?
Yeah, we could. I think right now Nick wants to forge his own path, and that's great. I mean, if we wind up crossing again and doing something together, great. But it have to be done, you know, have to be arrived at in a natural way.
As much as this is about substance abuse and addiction and how it can affect everyone, it's about family too. There's a lot of interfamilial relations at play here between mother and father, between mother and son, and father and son. How did you arrive at those kind of calculations for this? How much of that was pulled from your own experience versus compiling together a lot of experience?
Well, that's one of the things that I wanted this to be, which is it is Nick's experience, but it also affected what happened to his mother and me. And so we wanted to make sure that both, you know, the parents and the child were both represented in the film. So, you know, I have a better handle on what I went through and what his mother went through, and so those things I could inform a little bit better, and then he could inform much more about what he went through. So we tried to show it from both sides because, you know, these problems affect the whole family. It's not just, you know, it's not just one person. It's a living system.
So what is it? Let me ask you, what is it you hope people watch and take away from this in the end?
I hope they take away whatever they want to take away from it, and I hope they laugh. It's funny what happens in these places. It's not all dark. It's not all serious. There's, like you said, light moments.
And you?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, basically, we just want people to, you know, we want to be part of the dialogue. We want people to take away, ooh, I can see myself there. Hopefully it'll start a dialogue with them, because we don't have any prescriptions. We don't know the right way. All we say is that everybody has their own path. This was the path that we went on. And
also question the way everyone wants you to do it.
What do you mean by that?
Think about how unique the experience was to you when you were using or drinking or anything like that, and try to prescribe yourself the best method to recover, instead of being like, oh, I'll do that one size fits all thing that, you know, doesn't work for a lot of people.
I cannot let you go without asking about this current political climate.
Uh-oh, here we go.
We need to do this. Remember, this is ABC News in the end. I will say, I have to hold you to this. Last fall, you had said by the time the primary process has run its course, the two best qualified candidates will rise above the rest, the ones with the most experience. We're now looking, it's looking more likely.
I was half right. I was half right. On the Democrat side, I think we have got the most qualified candidate. On the Republican side,
you are a Clinton supporter.
Oh yeah.
And on the Republican side?
On the Republican side, it's to me a complete and utter mess. The fact that somebody who is as inexperienced, as ignorant, as ill-equipped to be president has risen to, to the process of being a nominee is, to me, astounding, and it just speaks to the culture that we're living in, the Kardashianization of America, where a reality person who has no governing experience, does not have a real, a comprehensive view of the world, is just out there spouting things. He never talks about anything of substance. He just talks about his poll numbers and, you know, how much people are voting for him or whatever. The single most difficult job in the world, and you want the most qualified person to be there. So I guess I was half right. We got Hillary, who is very qualified, knows what she's doing, and we have somebody who is a demagogue who just says things. And
just to play devil's advocate for a moment, though, this is, as you said, it's the primary process playing out. These are people heading to the polls and stating their preferences, and they state very clearly on their
and all that says to me is that the Republican Party has been in disarray for many, many years, and they don't know who their base is. They don't know who the establishment is, and so you wind up with a candidate. They feel that that the party has left them behind, and so you see all these grassroots people. It's interesting because they talk about the same kind of thing on the side, on the other side with the Bernie Sanders supporters. And the Bernie Sanders supporters are very idealistic, wanting the best for America. They have Bernie's ideas, which is, very big ticket ideas, and they're very difficult to achieve, but they're good things to shoot for, good goals. But you look at the difference between the disenfranchised that are being drawn to the Bernie campaign and the disenfranchised who are being drawn to the Trump campaign, and the difference is there's a xenophobia and a racism on the Trump side. There are no racists running to support Bernie Sanders, and yet you see a lot of neo-Nazi groups and racist types that are being drawn and are happy that somebody is finally speaking up for them. That's scary to me. And the fact that Trump, knowing he wants to win, does not disavow these people and does not say, I don't want these people supporting me. I don't want to have anything to do with them. He doesn't say that. He encourages it and lets it happen. And that to me is very scary.
We need to have you back for some of our political coverage next Tuesday. You need to join us on this night. Right. Do you share your father's passion for politics?
I don't know a thing.
There it is, the generational divide right there. Anything else you'd like to say to make sure people know about this film? It is out this week.
Yes, it's May 6th, Friday. It opens May 6th, and it's at the Union Square Theater. Go see it, tell your friends, and start the conversation. It's a big one, and it's on everybody's mind. It's part of the campaign issue for every candidate.
Nick, any final words?
Yeah, those were it.
Okay. The film is Being Charlie. Rob and Nick Reiner, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so here's a podcast with him. So his name is Paul Mercurio, if you want to check out his channel. This is from November 17th, 2016. He's interviewing Rob Reiner, and they're talking about his son, and the guy doesn't even realize that his son is back there. And he asks him something like, what do you think your son would think or whatever? And he's like, well, you could ask him. Rob's like, you could ask him. He's back there right now. So then his son comes up and does the interview.
What do you think your son took away? You said you both learned what you were going through in a deeper way.
Well, he's right here. You can ask him.
Oh, that's your son.
Ask him. That's Nick.
Wow, I guess I should have known that at the beginning.
Come in here.
Come in here, man.
He wants to know what you took away. Here, I'm going to get you one of these.
Yeah. Well, nice to meet you.
I was really interested in what you were saying about the baseball thing and how relatable it was.
Yeah. Someone said having a child is like your heart is running around outside your body unprotected.
Yeah.
And I couldn't put it any better. And I was thinking on the way here, and I try to talk about this stuff in my act because this is the stuff that I think matters, is like I am at times that parent that I would mock who lives through his kid. And I'm sure when you were going through your pain, your dad was going through. My son is in a baseball slump, which is nothing compared to what you guys went through. And I literally couldn't sleep a couple of nights. And so I totally understand. So I'm curious, what did you figure out was going on with him during all of this as a result of the movie?
Well, I think I'm lucky in the sense that I have parents that care about me. And because of that, when I would go out and do, things like drugs and stuff like that, I'd feel a tremendous amount of guilt because I'd think, oh, they're thinking about me right now. They want me to do good. And most people don't have, not most people, but some people don't have parents that are, have any interest in them.
Yeah. By the way, we're talking with Nick Reiner and his father, Rob Reiner. Nick had a drug issue in his teens and beat it and wrote a movie about it, and his dad directed it. And
you see, he just said something that really got me, which is that deep down he trusted that we loved him and that we were there for him, and that put a little bit of a brake on certain things. I mean, it's a desire to survive, and that put a little, and I think that's where we made the mistake, is that we didn't trust that he had that.
If you supported him as opposed to you were punishing him.
Yes, we were definitely
meaning like
punishing
grounding him. You can't use the car. You got to stay home. All that
just
stuff.
The whole idea of throwing him into a rehab place. Just saying okay, and there's a punitive aspect.
But if you hadn't done that, how could you treat him on? You couldn't treat him on your own.
No, not on our own. But we could have maybe just worked with him with a therapist, and been a little bit more active in that way. I think we just overreacted, but I mean,
Nick, I
love hearing that he said that because I knew he has that in him,
Yeah.
and there's a part of him that wants to survive, and he doesn't want to,
kill himself or anything.
Why were you so deep into drugs? What do you think? Maybe with distance you can answer this. Maybe not. Was the sort of the underlying issues for you that were driving you there?
I don't think this is any different than most people going through their teenage years, but I think that I was very, I had no identity and I had no passions. And I think the reason I had no identity was because, I have a famous dad and a famous grandpa, and they sort of, that fame sort of informs who you are. So I wanted to etch out my own identity with a more rebellious, angry, drug addicted sort of persona.
Go the opposite of what your father and your grandfather are
Yeah,
in terms of
because
that. But did you also think you wanted to be, through the haze of all of that, that you wanted to be an artist of some kind, whether it's a writer or a director or producer, that you wanted to do something in this business?
No, I had no idea, and that's what aided to the drug use, was because I had nothing to fill my time. I had nothing to look forward to.
Well, wait, you're a teenager in high school. You're living, your parents, as famous as they are, seem like they're very normal people. Your dad coached T-ball.
Normal. We're crazy.
Well, we're all
neurotic
crazy.
like
My mother, yeah,
everybody.
we're right. But my point is, there are things to do in high school, right? Like if it's not sports, it's music, a chess club. I don't know. Your interest didn't really lie anywhere at that point.
Well, I was really into basketball, but I'm a white Jew, so I couldn't really continue that for a long time. And it just seemed like I didn't want to go into that business. But
Yeah.
now, I'm going into it as a drug addict of a famous...
It's kind of ironic that the thing that
came out of it.
This came out of it, and you ended up do you find that I mean, obviously, I know for anybody with an addiction problem, it's day to day. But how do you deal with issues that we all have? And now that you don't have drugs to use, what is it? Can you talk to your dad and your mom more openly about things, or do you seek help other ways?
When he was saying before, like, how I was scared to get in trouble if I were to tell them the truth, because they always say, be honest, be honest, be honest, and that's the best policy. But it's kind of not the best policy when you're honest and you get in more trouble than you were if you were lying.
Exactly what my son said. I'm going to send you this link. I said to him, because, okay, it's the summer, okay. I'm sorry, I'm getting excited, but we go to a place. We got a place up in Connecticut. So I'm walking down the street with my wife, and he rounds the corner with like 4 or 5 of his friends, and I can see the shadows. And he's got a backpack, and one of the kids has a backpack, and I hear ditch it, and they throw the backpack. So as they walk by, my son's like all cool and doesn't really want to talk to me in front of his friends. I go, I'll pick up that backpack for you and keep it at the house, right? So I pick up the backpack, and it's filled with a bunch of Bud Light beers. And they had gone down by the railroad tracks, had a little fire, and they, whatever. And this is like the first time for us to confront that, right? So I then interrogated him like a lawyer, and I got it out of him that, he had paid for it. And, it was a lot of like sort of obfuscate, just sort of, I didn't do this, I did that. Okay. And I asked him on the podcast, why do you lie? And he said, because when you do the calculation of the chances of getting caught versus telling the truth and the ramifications of getting punished for telling the truth, you take the odds of lying and getting caught for lying. Which I think is exactly what you just said.
Or living with the guilt of lying. You're like, I'll take that rather than getting.
Did you feel guilt? I don't know if somebody at that age feels guilt. Did you feel guilt?
I did honestly feel guilt. I'm not just saying that for sympathy points, but you feel bad when you lie to your parents.
Yeah.
But it's designed for you to lie, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And I was fascinated by that, and when you did the drugs, I guess it sort of just alleviated all of that. It took you away from all of that, and it was obviously self-medicating, and just you were able to relax or feel relaxed. And
there was a level of self-medication. There was also a level of doing something radical and doing something to get outside of myself and comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah. What is, I had a friend who was in AA, ultimately died, literally killed himself from drinking. And I remember visiting him, and he was in denial. It was all these other people, he literally was that line, like they got it. Did you get anything out of being in those different facilities? Were you able to take anything away long-term that's helping you?
You know what I really took away, and I usually bash the programs in AA, but I'll say something positive, which is the the feeling of, okay, there's other people out here that suffer from the same thing that I suffer from, and they're willing to talk about it. And that's why I think we did this movie, is because we feel it's important to be upfront about this sort of stuff.
So how was it? I can imagine just me directing my son's work and then butting my nose in, and you're obviously a great writer. So, they wrote the screenplay? I would imagine as a director, you maybe tweaked it in places.
I worked with them. I mean, over the course of a year, I helped.
Was it hard to not to give him his space, and maybe, want something to be changed, but leave it alone because he really felt strongly, or how did that? How was it for you working with him?
We hashed everything out. I mean, some things became fights, other things, we hashed it out.
He told me something that was really fascinating to me, and everything clicked after that. He was like, there's one person on the set that has to make the final decision, whether it's right or wrong, it has to be made, and that's the director. And so after I heard that, I was like, okay, I'll do what he wants me to do. I'll try my best on it, but ultimately it's up to him what gets into the movie.
Yeah.
But the other thing was, there were times when Nick would fight for certain types of things, and my first instinct was I have a lot more experience. But then as we went along, I realized that I may have a lot more experience making movies, but I don't have a lot more experience on this particular subject, and particularly what the young guy is going through. So. I told him many times he's the heart and soul of the film, and he would have better insights as to what Charlie was experiencing than I would, and I would defer to him a lot of times.
And were you surprised to hear the things that he didn't understand about you, or did understand about you when you were going through that as a result of the process of writing and making the movie?
We both had no idea where each other were coming from. But then we
come on in, Romy. She just it's a
blockage.
Tissue, yeah.
Is that's your?
That's our daughter. That's Romy.
Come in. You want to be on?
Oh, this is not about me.
Oh, all right. How old is she?
She's 18.
Oh, all right. Nice to meet you. Are you going to college next year? Yeah. Where?
Bennington, in Vermont.
Oh yeah, I ski up there. Wow. My buddy John Fitzpatrick has a house up there. Yeah, it's good. It's great. Good skiing, and you'll probably get discount passes to go ski. So it'll be good. Nice to meet you. You're welcome to come on and talk if you want about anything.
I don't know. I mean,
whatever you want. Nah, it's about anything. It's loose. It's a podcast. That's the beauty of it. So, you were saying, sorry, that what you sort of took away from his interaction with you over the script and the film.
Yeah, we both learned what each other went through during that time, but really the thing I took away from it was I got to see him in his element, sort of directing and doing all these things. And when I said that in the past, people would be like, well, weren't you on movie sets before?
Yeah, I was
but
just thinking that.
It's different because it's something I wrote, it's my dad, and it's something that we're collaborating on. And I saw he has sometimes a hard time expressing himself through just conversation, but through his efforts.
What do you mean by that? Because it seems like he's very expressive through conversation.
Well, we're on a show right now, but
oh, really?
Yeah.
No, but he's
I'm pretty quiet.
He's quieter, but he listens. He's a great dad, and I just mean that he's best explaining himself when he's in his element, making a movie, showing how much he cares through that way.
Do you think that that's the reason you do what you do, because you're Jewish, I'm Italian. I think we're very much alike in a lot of ways.
I grew up in a neighborhood that was all Jews and Italians.
Yeah, in the Bronx. Yeah. So it's very expressive in this. You guys have all the money, but other than that, we're the same. But I do mean that.
But you guys got the muscle.
Yeah, exactly. We make a good team. Do you think that in some subconscious weird way, or life sort of aligning up for you, that, Rob, this business has helped you be able to converse with people when you couldn't do it off camera? And
I think so. I mean, listen, no matter what area you go in, whether you're a writer or a musician or an artist or you're a filmmaker, it's a way of expressing yourself, and sometimes you can express yourself through your work a lot easier than you can in real life. And I think that's one of the reasons people do what they do. It's a way of getting their feelings out, their thoughts out, and they put it out either on a canvas or a piece of paper or a piece of music.
Yeah, that happened to me. I was doing these big M&A deals, but then I started writing as a hobby, and I made some short films, and one of them got into the Aspen Comedy Festival, and then that led to stand-up, and I liked the idea of writing something. And initially I got into this because on a lark, I went to see Jay Leno at a private function, and I had all these jokes written, and I gave him the jokes, and he called me the next day and said, "I'll hire you to start sending jokes in for the Tonight Show."
That happens a lot of time.
It's crazy.
These two guys who worked on The Odd Couple and then on Laverne and Shirley, Lowell Gans and Mark Rothman. They wrote a screenplay for a television thing, and Mark's father was a limo driver for Jack Klugman, and says, "Here, my son and his father
Really?
wrote this. What do you think?" And they hired them. Same kind of thing.
Yeah, and then he did my joke the following week, and it was the most
That must have
powerful
been a
thing.
thrill.
He called
See
me up.
something you wrote come out on the air.
Calls me up that day. Goes, "Hey, it's Jay. I'm going to do." I go, "Why are
Hey,
you
it's
calling?"
Jay.
Yeah, it's like, "Why are you calling me? Don't you have people that have people that have people?" He goes, "Nah, I like to keep in touch. I'm going to do your joke tonight." So I got a bottle of champagne. I don't want to make this about me. And
did he kill?
He did it.
Did he do it?
Yeah,
good?
did it real well, and my head exploded. He paid me $50 for this joke.
Yeah.
Now I'm a middle-class Italian kid from Rhode Island. I'm working on these billion-dollar merger deals. They paled by comparison. And then I started to go do the stand-up, and I was living a secret double life where I was a lawyer on Wall Street by day, and at night I would sneak around to dive bars working open mic nights in my little suit and tie. And there's a whole, and then I was very lost in my life for a few years because I thought I had my whole life figured out. Like I'm going to be a partner at the firm, and I'll retire in Florida. And then this passionate thing hits me, where there's that choice: do I stick with the money, or do I go where I'm passionate? There's no money. And I couldn't make a decision, and I was scared to death, and I was like looking to anybody for advice, and it was a very, very. I went through a midlife crisis in my late 20s. It was ridiculous, but so you're working on another screenplay. You said, right? Yeah. And what was it about this that you thought could be a comedy?
Well, and the people that see this movie that have been to rehab, there's funny stuff that happens, and there's funny stuff that's said, and like he said, my first instinct is to make this a comedy, but he was wanting to bring the more serious element to it. But there's definitely funny stuff that happens,
and there's funny stuff in the movie.
Yeah,
if you see the movie, there's a lot of big laughs in it.
Yeah.
There's a couple of really funny scenes.
Is it hard to reveal that stuff for you? That would seem to be hard for me.
It's not hard to reveal that stuff. It's only hard to reveal that stuff to then get told you're a spoiled white rich kid, and it's like, okay, maybe all these things.
Well,
but
who would say that to you? Not your dad.
No, but
world.
the world, Listen, I had to talk to him about this. Listen, I know what it's like to be the son of, and to have people assume certain things about you, and it's very, very difficult.
Well, how did you handle that?
Well,
obviously you didn't go to drugs, but you must have had those issues. Your father's an icon.
In the 60s, there was plenty of drugs around.
Yeah.
But you just have to know what you do, and that you have to block out all that extraneous noise. And it's hard for him because this is the first time he's, all of a sudden there's a lot of attention. People are talking, and he has the double whammy. He's got me and he got his grandfather, and they're going to say whatever the heck they want, but they don't know. They don't know what he's experienced. They don't know what he's gone through.
Yeah.
They don't know why he's done what he does, and and it's pretty dumb, pretty ignorant of people to say just because you're born and you have money and that doesn't mean anything. People have their own issues.
Human beings
regardless.
are complicated, messed up,
and also it's like the Kardashians can go shopping and complain about how there's no air conditioning in the fucking store, and no one bashes them.
Yeah.
It's like I wrote a movie about doing drugs and having a hard time, and people still,
people
they
have
a
really
field
said
day.
stuff about that.
Oh yes,
That's
absolutely.
insane to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
this
you
is-
have to keep yourself focused and know what
Whatever.
you do. Know what you do. This is what we set out to do.
Right.
And I told him, while we were making the movie, I said, I don't care what happens. I don't care if, they don't even see the movie. Nobody wants to see. I said, we're winning. We are winning.
Yeah.
Because we're throwing ourselves into our work.
Yeah.
And good things are coming out of it.
Absolutely.
And hopefully it can help some people, because we've been on some shows. We were on a show the other day on NPR where people were calling in and were saying, thank you so much for, sharing your story. And they were telling us about what they were going through. And so if you can be helpful in that way, then that's good.
And that must be good for you, Nick, to hear that, because it counteracts the negativity of people saying, "Oh, you're just a privileged white kid," and why, all of that, right? I would imagine when you're touching people that way.
Exactly, and that's what we do it for, is to start that conversation.
Do you see yourself like in this business now in some capacity, or is this sort of just, look, you're young. How old are you?
22.
All right, so you're young. I was in my late 20s and just did a complete career shift. So is this just get this out and you want to go somewhere else with your career, or do you even know? And not that you have to know. It's young. 22 is young.
When I first started working on it with him, I was like, oh my God, I want to do this forever. And then like when we started doing some of this stuff and I started to catch some heat for, whatever, like
on Twitter and stuff like that.
Like,
yeah.
oh, I don't want to do this at all. Like this sucks. And but now I'm like, he gets it even when he goes on the Tonight Show or whatever. You're the son of Carl Reiner. So it's just the nature of it, I guess.
They still call me Meathead. No matter what.
By the way, I had Norman Lear on the podcast, and he talked about how great you were, and he talked about the show. One of the episodes was so huge; it had like 60 million viewers, and there was people went to the bathroom, and the water table changed in New York when they went to
true?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That means the people went to the bathroom. They were all flushing at the same time.
Literally,
millions and millions of people.
Yeah, and he said, you had said real quickly as we wrap up, Rob, that Carol O'Connor was a support person for you in terms of like helping move you toward directing, and
well, not moving me towards directing, but he taught me a lot about acting. And that was that if the script is good, if there's a good story, the actor doesn't have to do that much. You have to just deliver it. I mean, you don't have to do any kind of, handsprings and pyrotechnics with your emotions and acting. Let the story and the dialogue support you. And that was great advice.
I want to end on just a very funny story that I heard you tell, if you don't mind telling it, and it's the Mary Tyler Moore story where you touched.
I did. I talked about on Colbert.
Yeah,
that's a true story.
Do you mind telling it real quick?
I don't mind. I mean, it happened.
Hilarious.
I mean, it's not. I'm not telling tales out of school, because Mary talks about it in her book.
Yeah.
And she's actually told a story on the Letterman show. I was 14, and I was like, my hormones were raging. And Mary Tyler Moore was like this really sexy. She was 24, 25, you know. She had those hot capri pants and very skin tight.
Yeah,
I don't know what possessed me, but I just went and grabbed her tush. Just gave her a grab, and I was like the devil was making me do it. And my father called me into the office and says to me, Did you grab Mary Tyler Moore by the tush? And I went, yeah. And he had a big smile on his face and said, don't ever do that again.
That's my boy. Well, it's a really great story, and I wish you much success, Nick. And it seems like things are going great. And maybe you write a movie for me, and I'll get a little part in it or something like that. And
about a father who hounds his kid to play baseball.
No, you know what? We'll get your sister in it. He hounds his kid, his daughter, about skiing and being on a ski team in Bennington. So we'll all be in it.
There you go.
And then your dad shows up, and he's the old crusty ski guy that lives in a lodge with no heat. And
wait a minute, I think you're onto something.
and there's no plumbing, but he has the wisdom. He was burned by the spotlight of being an Olympic skier, but now he has the wisdom of life to impart on the three of us.
Everybody's scared of him because they think he's something, that he's a monster.
Okay, so here's another interview that they do about the movie. I'm not going to play the whole one of this one. I'm just